Just fucking do it. Subscribe now. Sometimes you don't know the real reason they fall apart. There's your reason, their reason, and then the real reason. And if shareholders thought that you willy-nilly threw $7 million, but now we're talking about at that time $155 million deal. And then the extra money, or as they say in Kentucky, the extra money we got on the financing. We bought a drilling company, we bought a pipeline construction company, we bought a bunch of other stuff. But you never know why the real reason. Like, you don't know the real reason your wife leaves you. You don't know the real reason. Some of you think, or you don't know the real reason your mother left your dad. There's always three sides to every story. And so I've closed a lot of deals that way. I told you I saw a several $100 million deal that was going to fall apart for $55,000 because somebody, and I just picked up the bill myself. So sometimes you get too focused. There's focus, and then there's laser beam focus, and then there's moron focus when you can't see the forest for the trees. And I used to be that kind of focus. I used to drive things home whether they needed it or not. Now I've mellowed quite a bit since then, but the deal getting done is the most important thing, as long as legal, moral, and ethical, and again, ethics and morals swing in the wind. But legal, I mean the rule of law. It's got to have a rule of law, otherwise you're pissing in the wind. And I used to make the analogy, that's like a lady pissing in the wind, and that's fucking hard, for a gal to piss in the wind. Comments, questions about the Goombas? Yes, sir.
So following Tony's question, phantom stock options to retain employees, you exercise that, they exercise that?
Well, the only time they're exercisable is at exit or controlling. Actually, there's two different kinds. There can be control. In other words, if the Goomba brothers give up 51% control, which is not likely, but if they did, the employees that have the phantom options could exercise them, or total control when they sell out.
So it's on a liquid event or drag and tag, or when
Correct.
you exercise drag and tag.
Yeah.
All right. And you can put them on a vesting schedule as well.
Well, no, they don't do that. It's, they give them to him up front, and because there's no plan, we're going to exit in 3 years. They're part of their little script is we're going to exit when it makes sense. Jason said that when it makes sense to us, when we have mass, and they haven't got mass. I thought this last two deals they did, that might give them some incentive to exit, but now they realize, now it's easy, but now they realize it's not that fucking hard. So their dreams, have gone from, 4 or 5 zeros to 8 or 9 zeros now, which is normally the case. And of course, if you give up, that doesn't happen. You never see that, that story, there's light at the end of the tunnel, but you don't know the tunnel is 4 million miles long. I mean, so there isn't any light when the tunnel is 4 million miles long. So they don't use the vesting. That, to me, that's overkill. If you haven't fired them, they haven't quit, and you're in the deal 6, 7, 8 years, I mean, that's enough vesting. You can always fire them. And they work in a right to work state, whatever it's called, so you can fire the guy if he parts his hair wrong. Literally. So, but now some of the other states, and if you recall, I told you, how we hire people that you don't have to worry about firing them. But virtually nobody does the contract for 30 days, the contract for 60 days or 90 days, the contract for 6 months. We have a handful of people in 28 years that have done that. Because, I don't think it's embarrassing. I'm protecting the shareholders' equity. But some people say, well, I just had a 30-day contract, I just had a 60-day contract, now you want me to sign a fucking 5-month contract? Yeah, if you don't like it. See the door? Don't let the door hit you in the flabby ass on the way out. And no matter what state, the toughest H&R state, human resource state in the country, one of them is Connecticut. I mean, you can blow them out the door. I mean, we've done it, blown them out the door in Sweden, fucking Denmark, Iceland, you name it, if you follow those steps in hiring them. And you make them, remember I said you have whoever's a human resource person, you have them, and you're hiring 8 or 10 people. You spend 2 days going through the contract, word by word. And you have them initial every corner, the top corners and the bottom corners, and the sign at the bottom of the page. Next page, word by word. You have 2 law firms there, memorializing with a notary. In some countries, you have a notary. Word by word, okay? And you go through every motherfucking page of the contract. Then you go through the constitution of the company, articles of incorporation, word by word. You can fire fucking God in heaven. And then they'll say, I didn't understand what I was reading. And then when they go for a break, they can't tape. You take all their cell phones. I know how to do it. But you won't do it. Well, then it's not that important for you. Then it's not important. If it's not important enough for you to follow those instructions, then fuck you. Piss on you. It's not because I haven't taught you how to do it. It's you've taken the choice. You've taken the decision, as they say here, not to do it. A lot of the kids say, well, Peña, that happened in the 80s and it doesn't happen anymore. That's bullshit. Happened last month. And your lawyers will say that they'll write you a letter telling you how you shouldn't do this. Your accountants will write you a letter telling you why you shouldn't do it. They're not telling you it's not right. They're not telling you it's not legal. But by some moral compass that's theirs, that may or may not be yours, I've done it to black, Chinamen, Koreans, Pakis. You name it, I've done it to them all. That's how, but how important is your dream? In addition to working how hard you work for it, you heard him say, it's managing the fucking cunts. And not, one of you at least has got enough employees to know how fucking hard it is to manage these pricks. And I say business is great without the people. I don't want to make friends. If you want a friend, buy a fucking dog. I would rather you just send the money and not come. All the shit's on the website anyway. Just send me the fucking money. I need to be having meals with you, and I like it better this way, though. I like the separation. This is right up my alley. Any comments about, did I answer your question? Okay. Any comments or questions about the Goomba Boys? And they're, but we got a ton of them. I wish more of them would talk, but when they talk, then you hunt them down. Which is another sad commentary on humanity. Thank you. Wise words from our Korean friend. Anything else about Jason or Tony? But they work like dogs. They're hardworking guys. Now, the Cubans tell me they're all, but that's not true because I know some lazy ass Cubans. So, and they didn't go through the story. They kind of swam the water and they rode a shark, on the beach. The story is, we came with $20 and a holy T-shirt. The only guy that I've seen with $20 and a holy T-shirt is my guy that's from Malta that sells the inner tubes on the beach. And they're although they have a lot of contracts, they've expanded the contract business and they've expanded the scope of the things they bid on. But now they get in certain states, and I think Florida is one of them, you only have to be in the top 5. The top 5 to be considered for the contract. You don't have to be the lowest, just in the top 5. And now that they have a big history of contracts, and they have some of the really good contracts, and they've performed. If you don't perform, guys, all this is bullshit. It's moot. It's me flapping my lips in the wind. But if you perform, when you perform, the world really can be your oyster. And as if you heard from them, the Corona hasn't stopped them. Again, they had to explain seller's equity. They had to, these things which aren't foreign by any stretch of imagination, but they're formed to, a majority of business. And some of the small accountants and some of the small law firms will tell you wrongfully that it's not legal, it's not this, it's not that, which is bullshit. That's just utter bullshit. It is legal. Now, I think, on the other end of the I think it's criminal that they don't tell you. I think they should be brought up on charges for malpractice for not telling you. Well, of course, that goes over like a turd in a punch bowl. Nobody wants to hear that. When you know there's a better alternative for your client, if you're in the county or you're a consultant or whatever, if you know there's a better alternative, you don't tell them. To me, that's malpractice, malfeasance. I'm one of the only people on the planet that thinks that. But they should. There should be a fiduciary responsibility for them if they represent you, if they take your money, that they tell you the whole truth. They tell you all the alternatives. And there's not many people that fall into that category. And when we were running the Guthrie group full bore, which we're not anymore, we occasionally take on a case or a client. When we did it for a tenth of the price, 10% of what the big guys would charge, and we got it back to you in a fifth of the time. And the reason why they take months and sometimes years is how do you send somebody a $14 million bill? I mean, how do you send somebody a $2 million bill, a €2 million bill, unless you worked on it 11 months? Yeah, and we were working on a deal in Silicon Valley years ago, and 3 weekends in a row, I saw the partners of the big consulting firm on the golf course. 3 weekends. Of course, they asked why was I there, but that's a whole other story. Because we used the country club's conference facilities for our meetings. So I was there, and I saw them playing 36 holes of golf a day, drinking in the bar. There's nothing wrong with that. I've done that a million times. But they're supposed to be on this big Fortune 50 company's case. And I don't know how those big partners were billing. I know how they were billing when they had the little minions doing all the work, and they were sitting in the bar and or on the golf course. Nothing against bars and golf courses, but I know, and I'm not saying that maybe that was just one instance in their whole career. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. And there were some bankers there, and if I told Jason Nagy that, I told you bankers were crooks, Mr. Peña. I told you they were. I just got another email. I haven't read it yet, Jason. I'll read it later today. But anything else about the Goomba Boys? Are you warm enough, James? Now, Clyde Goins, who was my big-time collaborator, he passed away a couple years ago. He had his 5 boys working there in the coal mines, 5. And he had countless cousins, countless, I mean. And I tell the story now, this is a true story. They were trying to unionize our mines. And the laws used to be, I don't know whether they are now, that a union representative, if he can get 3 or 5 people to join in a meeting, he can have a meeting, even if you're not a union shop. Okay. Well, I didn't like that law, and so we did everything humanly possible so they couldn't have meetings. But occasionally they'd get 4 or 5 of the young coal miners and they'd have a meeting. So about 3 or 4 in the morning, one Saturday, I was there over the weekend. They came to me, the sheriff and our head of security, and they said, we got a problem in mine 13. Mine 13 was my lucky number in my mind. And they said, so we were driving down there, and they've got the people that, collect the dead bodies and were there, and it was obviously a crime scene. And so then one of the sheriffs sarcastically said, "This is, Mr. Peña, you probably don't know, this is one of the greatest feats of athleticism known, not just here in Hazard County, not just here in fucking Kentucky, but in the whole goddamn United States." I said, "Really?" So I know something bad has happened. And he says, this boy, and he's draped with a, whatever you put over dead bodies, with his hands tied behind his back and his feet tied together with barbed wire, somehow leapt 19 goddamn feet over the chain link fence and dropped into the coal crusher. And the coal crusher takes coal down to like 50-cent pieces. Not once, not twice, But 3 goddamn times that boy jumped over that fucking fence and fell into the coal crusher. And I said, just out of curiosity, Sheriff, who was that boy? He was that goddamn union representative. You don't tell me, Sheriff. Well, sorry to wake you up, sir, but since it happens to be the owner was in town, we thought you ought to know. And that's how they play ball up there in the hollers. Up there in the hollers. And a few years prior to that, when I was doing business with the Vatican Bank, for those of you that are old enough to remember, the controller of the Vatican Bank hung himself over London Bridge in London the morning before he was going to testify to Westminster. And that boy, that was only a 17-foot fence. And his hands and legs weren't with barbed wire, they were just rope. But he only jumped once. Once, I guess because he cracked his neck, he couldn't jump twice. And this is the real fucking world. This isn't pretend. Does the Vatican play hardball? You goddamn right they play hardball. And then they got little you know, trying to do the 4 dead man walking deal. You know, one of those dead man walking might have been somebody important. The father was somebody important. Any other questions? Okay, YouTube, goodbye. Now are there any other questions?